What's up guys, it's your boy Falcon back again, and today I'm working on this Ford 5.4. This is actually an 03 Navigator, but what I'm about to do is basically for all Fords, 4.6, 5.4, all the way from like 97 I believe. I've seen some 05s, 06 basically have the same gasket right here that goes past. Now you got a leak under the vehicle. This is probably it, so stay tuned. Okay, after jacking up the car, we gotta make sure that we put jack stands on the frame. So now I just want to show you the leak. So here we look at it from the front where the oil filter goes. We have the leak, we can clearly see it there. And now we look at it from the back, we can clearly see the oil dripping. If we look on top of this part here, we can see no oil coming from the top. First thing we have to do here is remove the oil filter. I'm going to use this tool right here. Also, I recommend pinching the radiator hose so we don't lose a lot of coolant when we take the hose off. And now after breaking loose the oil filter, we're going to spin off the oil filter. Remember, righty-tighty, left-to-loosey. Make sure that we put an oil drip pan. I also have a video on this very large drip pan that you can get at Home Depot for like 15-20 bucks, and it is huge and it will help you for any other jobs that you have coming up. So take off the oil filter first. There you go. And now I recommend cleaning out the area. Right here I'm gonna use some brake cleaner so I can clean it from the front and the back, and that's just so I can see exactly what I'm working with and where I'm working at. As far as connectors, we only have one connector that we need to remove, and this is the oil pressure switch. So if you ever gotta replace your oil pressure switch, this is it. It just has one tap, you press it and you pull it out, and then that is that. And now we have to remove this radiator hose here. With these clamps, just with some pliers, we should be able to take it out. This might be overkilling, but I just want to make sure everything is extremely clean. So now we use some pliers to take off this clamp, and this clamp is just a pressure clamp, so you're just gonna like squeeze the tabs and then pull it back, and then you should be able to take the hose off. As you can see here, with one hand I press the clamp down, and with the other hand I help it slide the actual clamp out of the housing. That way we can take off the hose. Now with the hose off, we can let it drain for a little bit, and this was the reason why we pinched our radiator hose, so not a lot of coolant could be lost coming out of the radiator hose. And here we can clearly see the 4 bolts that we're going to remove for this piece. The 2 on the top, and then it has the 2 on the bottom. There you go. And now to remove the 4 10mm bolts. Now on some Fords I've seen these actually be 12s, but most of them, 9 times out of 10, they're 10mm. So what I'm doing is just breaking them all loose. Once they're all broken loose, then I go back and actually take the bolts off. But then that's just a practice that I got used to. Always break everything loose to make sure that you're not gonna have no issues, and then just go back and take everything off, whether it's with the ratchet or by hand. It just helps out a lot more. And I just wanted to show you one more time the location of the 4 bolts. So you have 2 bolts around the coolant hose on the top, and then the other 2 in the bottom where the oil filter is gonna go. This will be a good time to point out that you probably want to do your oil change now. I haven't had where you're gonna get coolant in the oil, but it's still a possibility. So when you're already here, might as well go ahead and do your oil change. After doing all this, drain your oil, and then we can replace it with new fresh oil. But as you can see, after taking off all the bolts, you just pull on the oil filter housing, and you should be able to just slide out that gasket. And this is the Felpro part number for this gasket, the 70801. Here we can pull it out and see it. Now I just want to show you the difference between one and the other. So if we look at the old one, you see how the thick black plastic, and then you see the rubber plastic, the blue. You should see some grooves, and you don't see them in the old one. And if you look at the new one, you can clearly see the grooves where the oil passage goes through, where the coolant goes through. And this is a very common issues with Fords. Now after cleaning out both surfaces of the actual plate itself and the block, we're gonna go ahead and put the gasket. The small rings go towards the bottom, that's where the oil is gonna flow through. So we're gonna put it in place, and we're gonna grab our 10mm bolts and just put them in by hand, so we can make sure that we don't cross thread them. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to put all 4 bolts by hand. Give it a couple of, I don't know, 5-6 spins, so making sure that you have enough threads inside the block. And now it's time to tighten them all with the ratchet. So I like to kind of snug them all in with the ratchet, and then I'm gonna come back and tighten them up. If you want to be specific about the torque on this is I believe is 18 foot-pounds of torque. Now that everything's snugged, it's a good time to plug back in your oil pressure switch. When the oil pressure switch starts to go bad, if you ever start to lose oil pressure, when you disconnect the oil pressure switch, if you pull it out, if there is oil inside the connector, that's most likely bad. Now time to connect our radiator hose. Same thing, we put the hose back in first, and then with our pliers we're gonna put the clamp, the pressure clamp back on, to make sure that we snug it into place. Now to install our brand new oil filter. And as far as oil filters, I just recommend Motorcraft for Fords. Just to kind of double check my work right here, you can see it from the front, car's on, you can see it from the back. There is no leaks, no nothing. Job is done and completed. And that is how you replace the oil filter housing gasket on your Ford 4.6 5.4. As always, don't forget to thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell for me, share the channel. I will catch you guys on the next video. Thank you for watching. You guys have yourselves a great day.